Not every horror story begins with a dark house deep in the woods. Sometimes, it starts with a simple job offer and a woman just trying to earn an honest living. That was the case with this Chica de la Limpieza, a humble cleaning lady used to dealing with dust, not with dark presences. She thought it would be just another day of scrubbing floors. What she walked into was a witch story, full of hechiceria, paranormal rituals, and a cursed job that would haunt her forever. Have you ever felt like you were being watched, even when no one else was around? Or heard whispers in the middle of the night that came from nowhere? Buckle up. This isn't just another ghost story, it's a true supernatural experience, based on real paranormal encounters. Every corner of that haunted house whispered secrets, and every strange sound could have been a warning or an invitation. It's easy to laugh at stories like this until something happens to you. So keep watching closely. The story you're about to hear has made its rounds through dark corners of the internet, horror YouTube channels, and hushed family conversations that usually end with, "Let's not talk about it." But somehow, it always comes back. Especially when the full moon rises and the voices in the night start whispering again. Because in the end, she just wanted to work. But the witches had other plans. She was a simple woman, the kind you see with a rag in one hand and a rosary in the other. From the countryside, raised with tough hands and deep faith, where nighttime silence hides more than it reveals. This Chica de la Limpieza never thought her beliefs, the same ones that made her cross herself every time she passed a cemetery, would be put to the test by a job that seemed so ordinary. She just wanted to clean, get paid, and go home. But the moment she stepped into that old house, something felt wrong. Quiet as she was, she noticed everything from the thick dust to the strange way her employers behaved. From day one, the house smelled off. The air was heavy, like the past still lingered in the halls. Every room gave her chills. Every shadow seemed to carry a memory. People from the countryside say they can feel when a place is cursed. And she could feel it. This wasn't just a job. It was a trap. A maldito trabajo. She wasn't one to talk about brujeria lightly. But she grew up hearing tales of brujas making pacts in the woods. She knew the signs: strange noises at night, things moving on their own, animals acting like people. And no matter how much she tried to ignore it, she couldn't look past the owner of the house, a cold, pale woman who rarely left her room but left odd marks on the floor. It was like the house knew she was there. Like it was watching, testing her. So she kept cleaning, day after day. Her beliefs became her armor. Sometimes, she would whisper prayers while mopping the hardwood floors. It was her only way to feel safe, even if she didn't know what she was protecting herself from. But deep down she already knew. This wasn't just about removing dust. With every scrub, she was disturbing something that didn't want to be disturbed. And when you mess with witchcraft, with dark presences, danger doesn't knock. It's already in the room. The house sat at the top of a lonely hill, surrounded by twisted trees and an endless dirt road. No neighbors. Just the sound of wind and branches scratching the windows. The structure was old, with creaky walls and stained glass windows that twisted the light, turning shadows into shapes. From the moment she walked in, the air felt wrong. She had worked in old houses before, but nothing like this. Inside, things were even weirder. Massive rooms, furniture hidden under sheets, paintings with eyes that seemed to follow her around. She found things she couldn't explain: dolls pierced with pins, black candles melted to their bases, strange circular markings on the floor, half covered by rugs. She avoided touching them, but sometimes bumped into one by accident. That's when she'd hear the weird noises upstairs, like the house was reacting. The scariest part? It felt like the house had a memory. Some doors opened by themselves. Others wouldn't budge, even without locks. The basement? Strictly off limits. Just old junk, the lady of the house said. But what came out of there didn't feel old, it felt alive. Voices in the night, heavy footsteps, chairs dragging across the floor. It was as if someone or something lived down there in secret. Or worse, performed dark rituals where no one could see. Despite the fear, the Chica de la Limpieza kept coming back. The pay was too good to say no. And she needed it. But each time, the house felt more alive. More aware. Crows started perching on the roof. Black cats followed her to the gate. Once, she swore she saw a long-haired woman standing behind the attic curtain, the one room she was never asked to clean. That haunted house, as she started calling it, wasn't just the backdrop of a witch tale. It was still happening. It started subtly, as most true horror stories do. A whisper here, a creak there. She blamed it on the wind or the old wood. But soon, it was clear this wasn't in her head. One night, while polishing the hallway floor, she heard muffled laughter coming from the attic, the always locked attic. Her body froze. The laugh was female, drawn out, like it was mocking her. She dropped the bucket and ran. Didn't return until the next day, praying it was just a bad dream. But it wasn't. In the days that followed, the manifestations got stronger. Shadows darted across mirrors. Dark figures crept along the walls even when the lights were on. And whenever she passed by the old fireplace, a chill ran down her spine. Like something touched her. She'd heard similar stories on paranormal YouTube channels, but thought they were made up. Now, she was living her own terrifying experience, surrounded by apparitions that seemed to feed on fear. One afternoon, she saw a black creature near the garden wall. Thought it was a cat until it turned, opened glowing red eyes and flew. A massive bat. And it wasn't alone. More started appearing at night, perched outside her bedroom window. Coincidence? Maybe. But those who grew up hearing witch stories know animals like that are more than just animals. They watch. They warn. Eventually, the feeling of being watched became constant. She heard whispers at night, footsteps from the attic even when no one was there. One evening, she saw a woman's silhouette at the foot of the stairs. Messy hair. Hollow eyes. The figure vanished in a blink, but the chill it left behind stayed. It was like the house breathed, muttered, lived. Every night became a supernatural experience that shook the foundations of her faith. And the worst part? It wasn't over yet. One day, during a routine cleaning, she found something hidden behind a thick curtain, a small altar. Not religious. Not like she knew. Melted candles, animal bones, dried herbs, strands of hair tied with red thread. In the center, a cloth doll full of pins. She froze. Her grandmother's warning echoed in her head: if you ever find something like this, leave. Don't look back. But she still needed the money. From that day on, the house seemed to reveal more secrets. Symbols carved into the floor. Dried blood. Black feathers on the door frames. Once, she found a mirror covered in black cloth and surrounded by coarse salt. Her suspicions were no longer just fears, they were facts. This was witchcraft. And the woman she worked for showed up at weird hours, pale and sunken-eyed. Barely spoke but seemed to know everything. Even when the Chica de la Limpieza stumbled upon things she wasn't supposed to see. On a full moon night, she woke up to a loud knock on the window. Nothing was there. But when she went to the kitchen, she heard muffled chanting from the basement. Her heart nearly stopped. Peeking down the stairs, she saw a flickering light under the forbidden door. It was a ritual, no doubt. And in the middle of the whispers she heard her name. Not shouted. Chanted. Like she was being summoned. Whatever this was, it went beyond any paranormal experience she'd ever known. She tried telling a distant neighbor, an old lady at the end of the road. The woman just said that house belonged to the witch mother. Whoever lives there now either joins them or disappears. Suddenly, everything made sense. The haunted house wasn't just full of dark presences, it was a temple for a bloodline of witches. And now, the Chica de la Limpieza was caught in the middle. Every sweep, every dusted corner, was one step closer to a fate that was never hers but somehow had chosen her. That night was unusually quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your skin crawl, like the world itself is holding its breath. She'd gone to bed early, but was startled awake by a metallic clink like a spoon hitting the kitchen floor. When she got up to check, she saw that the basement door was open. For the first time, fear hit her like ice. That door had never been unlocked. And something inside her screamed, "Don't go." But curiosity, or maybe a spell, pulled her in. She descended the stairs as if her body no longer obeyed her. Down there, the scene looked straight out of a real horror movie. In the center of the basement, a circle carved into the floor, candles lit in a spiral, and in the middle her employer, or what was left of her. She spoke in a language the Chica de la Limpieza didn't understand, her voice deep and twisted. Around her stood hooded women, chanting in unison. It was a ritual. No doubt. And when she saw her own photo, burning in a bowl of blood, she understood she was the offering that night. She stepped back in horror, but the ground was gone beneath her. She was pulled into the circle. The women opened their eyes black as coal. She tried to scream but couldn't. Her body trembled, her mind drifting away. Distorted visions. Voices in the night. Witch-like figures whispering in her ears. This was the peak of the brujeria, the core of the dark rituals. Just when she thought it was the end, she heard a prayer in her head, maybe her grandmother's voice. She repeated it silently. And then a blinding light. Everything vanished. She woke up outside, lying in the dirt, her uniform torn, her face scraped. The sun was rising. The gate stood open. She had no idea how she got out. Never saw her boss again. The house? Some say it was sold. Others claim it mysteriously burned to the ground. What really happened that night remains between her and the dark presence that almost took her. And the strangest part? Even after everything, she still hears those voices. Especially on full moon nights. She never went back. Wouldn't even drive past the old road. After that night, the Chica de la Limpieza moved to another city and cut all ties to anyone connected to that place. When asked why, she'd just smile awkwardly and say, "It was too much for my mind." But those who knew her well noticed the change. She always carried a rosary, crossed herself 3 times before entering any home, and never worked nights again. She survived, but she didn't come out unharmed. For a long time, she stayed silent. But years later, she shared her story on a horror YouTube channel. The video went viral. People across Brazil sent in similar stories. Former employees of that house. Neighbors who heard the chants. Truck drivers who saw strange lights near the property. Every new detail confirmed what she already knew: it wasn't a hallucination. It was a real-life terrifying experience, soaked in brujeria, apparitions, and dark rituals that still echo in the shadows. She didn't want fame. Just to warn others. At the end of the video, she left one sentence that stuck with everyone. Don't mess with what you don't understand. And never underestimate a house where even the silence feels cursed. Since then, her story has been passed around in forums, podcasts, and paranormal threads shared by people searching for proof of the dark world we pretend doesn't exist. But her? She went back to her quiet life. She still doesn't like to talk much. Says talking too much brings bad luck. And some things are better left forgotten. Because remembering is like lighting the candles all over again. Some say she exaggerated. Others swear she left things out. The truth? That Chica de la Limpieza walked into that house just trying to make a living and walked out with a soul marked by something no words can explain. And now I ask you, would you have the courage to stay on that job? How many times do we ignore the signs, thinking there's always a logical explanation, when in reality what surrounds us might be far darker than we imagine? The story of this haunted woman shows that even the most ordinary job can hide invisible traps, especially when it involves brujeria, apparitions, and dark forces that feed on silence. Have you been paying attention to the details around you? What if your home, your workplace carried the same kind of energy? Ever wonder how many witch stories have been swept under the rug by cleaning ladies who never spoke about what they saw again? Maybe it's time to look at things differently. To listen more closely to what the silence is saying. To respect the things we don't fully understand. And if you enjoy paranormal stories, real supernatural experiences, and true horror like this one, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. There's a lot more coming, each story more chilling than the last. Because the world is full of things we can't explain. And some of them are watching you from the shadows. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share this story with someone who thinks they don't believe in witches. Because after hearing this, even the skeptics might think twice before laughing at a strange ritual. Who knows? The next real horror story might come from someone you know.